Aaron and I, we grew up together. He's been my best friend since before kindergarten. I'm pretty sure we ate shit together back then, but in a more innocent way, not like these past couple of years. Yeah, we're from a small town where everybody knows each other and everybody knows your business, and the most you can try as a teenager is a couple of beers behind somebody's shed. So it was good times really, but you want to get out. We wanted to get out. We wanted to go somewhere. Do something. We were done playing cowboys and Indians in our parents' backyards. So, I thought about college, and Aaron wanted to enlist. It would have been an accomplishment, something to be proud of. We were both strong boys, capable on a football field, and even though we both had leadership qualities, I think we both knew that Aaron was the born leader. I would back down if the competition was with him. He was the kind of guy that was well liked and respected everywhere. When we met Jenna, I knew she'd prefer him over me, but I never begrudged him a thing. So we enlisted. We left our small town and everything in it. He left Jenna carrying their first child. After training, we were sent to Afghanistan, and our camp was based in Nurdistan. And there's steep mountains in between two fast-moving rivers. Life in camp was hard, but it was even harder outside. Seeing the locals around and their experiences. The place wasn't good from a defensive point of view, and everybody had qualms about it from the beginning, but man, it was beyond my imagination. I was glad I had Aaron there to talk to about it. But eventually we stopped talking, about our life there, about war, and it became so that the guys began to talk lighthearted, wanting to escape our daily realities. The locals were hostile and used to violent clashes in their own communities over their flocks or their pastures or their water rights. Show them the American goals, separate them from the enemy, align them with their government. It was laughable. The mission was a farce. Then I didn't think so. Now I know better. But man, that first winter, man, it was harsh. The cold in those mountains, they just seem to come down those slopes and just surround you completely. But every time we tried to help out the locals, we were thwarted by the Taliban. They were ruling by fear, murdering the locals, and saying this is what would happen to you if you cooperated with us, or blaming us on the killings. They fired on our camp, and it was unsafe to mount a defense. We didn't know those hills, and they were gone before we could. We lost men purely due to weather conditions. Mountain roads were unsafe, choppers misguided landings. I should have noticed the change in Aaron, but we had all grown quieter. It was a mental test to stay alive in that cold, as well as our duties. But the following year, he had withdrawn from me even further. But I didn't ask too many questions. I still, he still sat with me in the mess hall, and we'd still shoot the breeze from time to time. But I knew there was something different. I couldn't put my finger on it. So one night I woke up, and I laid there for hours. And I went outside to go look at the sky, and I remember looking up at the stars, and they looked amazing that night. It reminded me that there was a whole world to keep going. But I saw Aaron walking across camp, and I called out to him, asking him where he'd been. He turned his head and he said, he'd been unable to sleep. So it was around the next week, same day, around the same time, I woke up again, and Aaron wasn't in bed. So I looked around camp, and he was nowhere to be found. So I got suspicious. Why was he creeping out at night? So next week comes up, and he's not there, so I follow him. He gets up, so I follow him. I follow him over to some nearby houses, and I see him go into one. And I know there are no men in there. But that night I left. I didn't want to know. But damn, week after week, it was the same night. I eventually I had to know. So I followed him into one of these houses, and when I went in, it sounded like a little girl started to cry. And as I rounded the corner, I couldn't believe what I saw. I saw Erin, gun to a mother's head, doing things to her little girl that I will never speak of. There was another one waiting with them, like she was waiting for her turn. I must have made the sound because Aaron looked at me, and God, he looked like an animal. But my instinct kicked in, and I drew my gun, and I aimed him square in the face, and I shot him twice in the head. I looked away, but I heard him hit the ground. I ran back to camp. And God damn, I laid awake all night. I was numb. I knew what I did. I couldn't have people at home find out. I couldn't have their image of Aaron tainted. And these mountains, they did this to us. And those people at home, they will never understand that. After a few days and Aaron wasn't found, I reported it to my sergeant, and after it was discussed at length, I was commended on my work, but it be recommended that I be discharged due to the nature of our relationship. A man that I loved had died, covered up, blamed on the Taliban. Those women weren't going to speak. Friendly fire is what it's called. Honestly, Aaron, it couldn't have been friendlier.